These chairs just keep... They're not... I don't know if the mic can even pick it up or not, but these chairs just keep... They're like old wooden chairs that just... I mean, they are wood, but still. I don't know. That one's worse. I mean, it's a little better.
I don't hear a thing.
That's true.
Look, I mean, tiny, but it's not. This thing's about to fall apart.
I mean,
Snap.
Yeah, I was about to say all four of them just... Anyway, alright, so, hello everyone. Welcome to the Triple Chase.
Did you start already?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was trying to think of, like, how could we start this? I'm like, perfect. Let's just talk about the chairs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Triple J Studios podcast, and figured for the fifth episode, might as well bring back another guest. You're not new.
No, I've been here before. I'm his father.
Yeah, no, as some of you may remember from our first episode, he did the Planet of the Apes review, which I thought went pretty well, so decided to bring you back. It's been 5 episodes.
Where did the time go?
It was...
It's been like a month.
I mean, we only do like 21 more, and you got like a full 24 hours worth.
How many are going to be in a season for you?
Probably 10.
Just arbitrary number, you pick 10?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really think of seasons. I just figured it would be like episode or whatever. There's shows online and on the TV that just go like, Season 1, Episode 98, or whatever. Like,
yeah,
they just
like
keep
Netflix.
going. Netflix, yeah. But either way, we just got back from rewatching Saving Mr. Banks, which I forgot was more dark than I thought it was. As some may say, even darker.
Yeah, it was. I had forgotten too. I mean, I know there's a deep aspect of it with P.L. Travers' past, but yeah, it's very, very dark. But
especially for Disney standards, because you're thinking like, for me at least, when I think Disney, I think Mickey, Oswald, Goofy, like the trio, the gang, and then to get this film where there's like alcohol addiction, suicide topics, a lot of depression in a sense, with like some humor mixed in, but even the humor is kind of dark.
Can I just say first off, Tom Hanks should not have been cast as Walt Disney.
Yeah.
It's just that is the one thing I don't like about this movie is that they didn't seem to go out and get somebody who really looked or acted like him. Mm-mm. And that little southern type drawl that he had, which he wasn't even southern, made no sense. And
Missouri.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure
I mean, I completely
got
agree
coached by somebody, but he just didn't look like him at all. He just didn't.
Well, that's just it. Is that because I remember telling you that he is the only person ever allowed to have played Disney. No one else has played Disney in a Disney movie. So for that to happen is it's not the norm in a sense. So I don't know. I felt like he tried to make it his own, but it didn't work.
I think he should have stayed as Woody.
Yeah.
Toy Story.
It was, I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan. And then going off of that, Emma Thompson or Thompson? It's Thompson. Thompson. Yeah, just recently. I mean, by now it's probably like days old or weeks even. But it just got announced yesterday for us that she wasn't allowed to be in a Star Wars film because she was rejected. Sorry, she was in Brave, Harry Potter, like all of these other different films. If Star Wars is your make it or break it career, you're doing fine. Not that Star Wars is bad or good. That's for everyone else to decide. But more in the sense that, I don't really see a main reason to be upset.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Samuel L. Jackson was in one of them. It didn't, I mean, he already had a career. It didn't make it any better. Might have even made it worse. I don't know. But him as a Jedi, I didn't buy that either. So yeah, should be fine.
Yeah, she seems to be doing fine. But either way, let's jump into this movie. So it is considered a 2013 comedy drama film. I haven't heard any other examples of that, so the closest I'm going to get to is probably Nemo, of just its topics.
Where did comedy come from? I didn't really laugh.
We laughed at some points, but there were points that were like, again, darker humor.
Well, it's like humor. It was humor in the beginning, and then later, like when she threw the pears in the pool, that's funny, and then all of a sudden at the end you find out why that was actually so sad.
Well, there's also the part where where Mrs. Travers goes like, "Oh, do you think Mr. Banks or like Mrs. Banks is neglectful of her children?" And then one of the Sherman brothers goes, "Yep." we liked that, but it was more visual humor, I think, in a sense. So like the pears being thrown, the paper being thrown out the window, all of that. But we can't talk about that till we jump into the film.
All right.
So, this film, Saving Mr. Banks, 2013, is a comedy drama film directed by John Lee Hancock. It was written by Kelly Marcel and Sue Smith. I used to say, as we've already discussed, it stars Emma Thompson and Tom Hanks, along with many other actors that you're more aware of. I know their faces, but not really their names. And then the music was done by Thomas Newman. The reason I'm introducing the music is because so far in all of our other podcasts, we've at least talked about the music and then go on for like 10 minutes of the music. But this guy at least holds a place that I know because he did the soundtrack for Finding Nemo. And that is one of my all-time favorite Pixar films. So to hear that, I could hear a lot of the orchestra, the piano, the violins, all of that played into this very well. Of course, it was edited by Mark Lavasi. And the film begins in Australia. I didn't know she was born in Australia, which I'm guessing is true. I don't think they would really make that up.
Yeah, but, it's all the flashbacks are in Australia. She just later at some point in her life moved to England, but...
Yeah, I got it here. Oh, no, that's where she was later in the film. But I liked how the film opened because it opened the exact same way that it closed, reversed. Mm-hmm. So you see the clouds, then some palm trees, and then just the daughter or just a kid in a field with like a bird's eye view. And the camera's going down. Meanwhile, it's introducing it with the winds in the east.
Well, in the beginning of the film, she was alone. Mm-hmm. In the end, wasn't her father with her?
Her father's there, and they hug. Yeah, and I thought that was very nice.
So that's a little bit different, but same.
It is a little different.
And everything.
Yeah, which is why I think that was probably shot first, because they were the exact same angles.
Yeah,
I would assume they're at least very close. But then we fast forward really quick, so we know that this film's going back and forth, and now we are in 1961, where we now see Pamela P.L. Travers. And she's in London. And was it her publisher that comes in?
Yeah.
Yeah, the publisher comes in and says, you need money because we're not really doing too well. And then she finally agrees that the lawyer brings up that Disney has been wanting to make this film on Mary Poppins for like 20 years now. And then this is when she finally goes, fine, okay, I'll go. She flies over to Los Angeles, and this is where we are introduced to what's the actor's name?
Paul Giamatti?
Yeah, him.
The driver?
Yeah, I know him from somewhere. I have no idea where though.
Yeah, well, he's a character actor, so he's been in a ton of stuff, and I think he's won Academy Awards for things too. He's really well known. Probably
a lot of these different people have won different awards and everything, so that's very interesting to see too, is that it's not just like a few well-known actors. Almost everyone in the film is well-known. Almost. Mm-hmm. A couple of them are, I don't really know. They're not new actors though.
No.
They've all been at least one.
Even the father, he's been in other things, I don't know what. Actually, he was in the new, not Terminator, what was that remake by Schwarzenegger played the first one, Total Recall. He was in the new Total Recall.
I had no idea where you were going with that.
Yeah, and so
he was in that one.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, which I still think, and I told you while we were watching this, I still think he was the best actor in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought just the way that he acted and the, like his facial expressions, the timing of everything was very spot on of exactly how his character should have acted. Now, I'm going to be jumping back and forth, similar to the film, of real life and how it kind of, like, what really happened. So, in actuality, Mrs. Travis's father was an alcoholic. He was a banker. So all of these different things were true. He got demoted to a bank clerk. Sorry. And so all of that is true. And I'll just be following along with that as we keep going. So she gets there, and then this is when we're introduced to Walt Disney, Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But either way, we're gonna ignore that fact, because he's in Toy Story 4 now, which is a whole nother issue. They should have stopped, but cash grab. Betty White's in it, so I can't be too mad.
There's a spork in it.
There's a sport. His name is Sporky. I think.
Gee, they really went far for that name, didn't
they? They thought of it pretty well. Well, you know the original, like, Woody, right? He was a ventriloquist dummy.
From Toy Story 2?
From Toy Story 1, Woody.
Oh.
He was supposed to be a little, like, ventriloquism dummy. So does it make sense why his name is Woody? Because he was made of wood?
Nope.
Oh, okay. But, yeah, so we meet Walt Disney, and then Disney explains, like, I've been promising my daughters this for 20 years now, so I'm imagining these kids have gone from age 5 to, like, 25 now, and are still, like, every Christmas or Thanksgiving. I don't know the true story on that, but I do know he did promise it for over 20 years. So imagine just, like, Thanksgiving or Christmas, and they just sit down. They're just like, and what do you want for Christmas, honey? I want Mary Poppins. Give it another 10 years.
Well, I know. Every time I hear that story, I'm picturing this 22-year-old adult, the most spoiled child in the world, who's now an adult, saying, I'm still waiting.
Yeah, it's like, get over it. Like, you got Robin Hood and all of that. Mickey and everything.
Got everything you could ever want.
Everything you want, but no, you want Mary Poppins. But she does agree to make the film on a few agreements, and two of them, the main two, are there's no animation, and that she needs to approve the script before anything. Along with this, that the film didn't talk about, was that she was also given, in real life, $100,000 in advance as well. I thought that was a bit much.
Especially for 1961.
Yeah. You're thinking, like, that's quite a bit. Plus 5%.
Although, if he's been doing that for trying to get her for 20 years, then at that point, yeah, here's $100,000. If that'll do it.
And then 5% of the movie's profits, which was probably what pushed her over to the multimillionaire status.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure it is. Although I don't know that she really thought that it would do that well.
I don't know, because in actuality, she hated the film. She didn't like it. She talked about, if I can find that quote again, that was a good one. I'll look for it now. But yeah, she absolutely despised it. She showed up to the thing, or not the thing, the premiere of the entire film, outraged because she wasn't invited, and was crying because of the animation and all of that. She absolutely hated it.
Well, if you don't get invited to something, you shouldn't go.
But more in the sense, that would be almost like a, by the way, because he won't do it, I will. This gentleman over here, my dad, has written a couple books, including Jared's Island and the Jared Lagan Files, which you can find available on Amazon.com. But that would be almost like you making Jared's Island into a movie, or like me, because I make movies, in case you didn't know. You can find that on this channel. Yeah.
I've never been in one, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Oh, well, my feet were, and then you cropped them out.
Yeah, that's something... A little behind the scenes is my dad's feet got into Walter and Ross 3, and I had to crop them out because it didn't really fit the theme. So maybe leave comments on this podcast and the other podcast. Guess where his feet are.
Yeah.
But either way, that would be almost like me making a film about Jared's Island and not inviting you.
Right. Well, and that's why I relate to this movie so well, because our family's been so much a part of Disney forever, and then also I write. So to combine those two things and put them in a movie for me is like, wow, this is all there is. So I do get how much she is protective of it, and even more so because of all the psychological stuff she's got going on about her father. But even without that, just the pure writing aspect of it, like Jared's Island, yeah, if somebody came and said, I want to make a movie about it, I would
jump on it.
I would jump on it, but I would say, I've got to be a part of this. I'm not just going to sign this over to you and that's it.
Yeah.
I would need to have input as far as what it was like, because I've got very specific ideas of everything about it, and they couldn't turn it into a Mary Poppins type thing without me going ballistic.
Mm-hmm. Which I completely understand. If there's ever an author of an original piece of work, their input should be just as valued as the production team. In fact, probably more important, which was exactly where we lead off to in the next film. But we flash back during this scene, and this is when we go back to Mrs. Travis's past, and more of when she's leaving, I guess, her family home, in a sense, with where she is now going to Elora, Queensland, Australia. So she notices that it's the end of the line, especially with the train. So she kind of realizes then not going back. And then we're introduced to their house. And his wife doesn't seem like she knew anything. Because throughout this entire scene, she kind of seems not all over the place, but more contained of like, this is crazy. And you even made a comment during this scene of where you thought he was a psychopath.
Well, only because he was drunk, yet when he was sober, he was very happy and very imaginative, and it didn't seem, granted he was acting, but still it didn't seem as though it was being forced.
By the way, we should mention his name. His full name is Travis Robert Goff.
Yeah.
By the way,
which becomes important later.
Yep. Sorry, continue.
But he was happy whenever he was with his daughter, apparently, and
specifically her though, because they had 3 kids.
Yeah, and I never saw him with any other kids except when they were leaving their first house.
Yeah, well, I mean the baby, but baby can't really do much yet.
Yeah, but I mean he didn't seem to say anything to anybody else. And speaking of that, the wife, I don't think she had 10 lines the whole movie. She never really talked much.
She had a few lines.
She just seemed like she was ready to burst and explode and kill everybody.
Yeah. But when she did talk, they were probably the most powerful scenes. Yeah. Because it was like, we'll get more in depth into it later, but when she's about to commit suicide, which will make more sense later, yeah, she just looks dead in the eye of Miss Travis and goes like, take care of the kids. Mm-hmm. In a very deep, dark atmosphere.
Yeah, she was just more of in a trance of some kind.
Throughout the film, I think as soon as after that scene, she woke up, in a sense. And is like, oh, we're living here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, this movie, it's hard to go one step after another because it chronologically won't work because they go back and forth so much.
Yeah, which I'll be mentioning when we go back and forth. So,
but in that scene when she tells the young P.L. Travers to take care of your sisters, to me it looked as though she was possessed or something, because she just was not there until she entered the water and her daughter grabbed her by the back of the clothes and pulled her and told her it's time to go home, and then she woke up.
Which, let me say, that kid, the kid that plays that, forget Stranger Things, forget like Twilight Zone, any of that. This is probably the one movie where, because I know you might know about it, but there's kind of a little argument everywhere that you ask, and I've had conversations with my friends about this too, is should kids of that age be in films that they can't even watch? So for instance, The Girl in the Ring. The Ring's like a R-rated movie?
I think so.
Yeah, and it's a kid.
Yeah.
Should she be allowed to watch that?
Yeah, because she was part of it and she understands the back side of it.
But now imagine
her watching it wouldn't be like you watching it.
Fair point. Well, thanks.
No, or anyone. No. I mean, she's seen it from the other side.
But maybe what I'm trying to say is that, like, try explaining that to us. She looks like she might be like 8 or 9. In reality, she's 7. To
me, she looked more like 12. She's a very good actress, but I know that when they cast actors, they put them in an age range.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she looked older than 7. And that's when her father died.
Yep, in real life.
So I don't know what the time frame was between the time they left Queensland and he died.
They don't really make the time of like days in either the 1961 scenes or the early 1900s scenes. They're both kind of a bit choppy.
Yeah, the only reference you get is when the premiere was 1964. So
so you can kind of like, I don't know, you can math it out and go like, oh yeah, here's the averages. But they keep going, and this is when we're introduced to Miss Travis looking through all of the different things, including the different music, which she makes a comment saying that responsible is not a word to rhyme with constable, which she downright refuses. She is talking all about how the houses look, and then this is when I believe it's Bob Sherman, out of when she's talking just goes, "Does it matter?"
With the mustache?
Yeah, with the mustache.
She didn't like him having a mustache.
And then all of the characters just go like, Bob, come on, man. Does it matter? She goes, you can wait outside.
Yeah, and he does.
And he does. And he goes out with a limp. And I looked that up. In the movie, they say he was shot in the foot. And then Miss Travis goes, oh, well, he figures type of thing.
He had a cane, too.
He had a cane, and he walked... he made it evident. He was, like, stomping it on the ground.
Yeah, I think he got shot in the knee, right?
He got shot in the foot in the film. In the real world, he was shot in the knee during World War II.
Yeah, I thought... Well, she asked what happened to him, and someone said he got shot in the leg.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something like...
Like, serves him right. Or something like that.
Or I don't wonder why, or something to that effect.
Something like that, but either way,
she was very mean.
So this is the type of humor we're expected now of like very dark, but still kind of like, yeah. And then I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, he received the Purple Heart, which I didn't know about until I looked that up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very more again off topic, but on topic is. The Sherman brothers play like an essential role in this film. In the sense that like other films, they've been talked about, even like documentaries that I've seen, they're talked about, but then it kind of moves back to Disney. That makes sense. This one balances everyone perfectly. Mrs. Travers, Disney, and the Sherman brothers all have their moments of like high points, like low points, all of this, and it merges very well. So to see all of these characters work fluently together is very well. Even, we never even mentioned, the limousine driver, his name is Ralph. Even he has points in the film where he's talking to all the characters. Because he's in the room.
He's got very important parts. I mean, he was there initially when he picked her up, and you got the full sense of how rough she was. And he was the first one, as far as I could tell, that broke her down a little bit, because they were out in the courtyard and he was talking about his daughter being in a wheelchair, and they were making a little little trough in the grass and everything, and she finally softened a little bit at that point, which was about, I want to say, almost halfway through the movie. And once she did that, you started seeing little clues of her softening up, getting a little better, not having such an approach of that she hates everything. And you also see it in the towards the beginning when she's in the hotel, and I think she's met Disney once. They show her pushing her room service tray out the door with her foot. And then a little bit later, she goes into the bar and orders tea. So right there's a little difference in that she's not alone. She's willing to be with people. But then she orders the tea. The bartender gives her the tea, and then she starts trying to talk to him, and he's gone. So it's like she made an effort, but she's not there yet with people.
Yeah, she's very... Because since the beginning of the film, she's seen as kind of an isolationist, in a sense of like, at the very beginning, the publisher goes, "Oh, where's your maid? Oh, I fired her. Oh, where's this person? Gone." Like, she's pushing everyone away. And at the end of the film, she's seen accepting everyone, in a sense.
Well, and she has that new maid.
The publisher's still there, so...
And the maid stinks, and she says, well...
She reminds me of me.
Yeah, he says, why do you keep her if she stinks? Well, she reminds me of me.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you know...
Which I guess means she's starting to accept who she is.
Yeah, I that's what I interpreted that line as. Also, I did find the name of the kid. She is a 7-year-old in the film, and her name is Annie Rose Buckley. That's her actual name.
She was 7? Wow.
Well, she played a 7-year-old. I don't know how old she actually is now. But, yeah, she did very well, I thought. She is... Whoa, she was in Doctor Strange, I guess, too. She's kind of everywhere. She's not really that well known. I don't know. I'll see if I can get an age later.
It's not surprising, though, that she's been in other stuff, because she's a very good actress.
Yeah, you even made a comment on, like, her facial expressions.
Yeah.
Those were very well done.
Those scenes she was in relied so much on her facial expressions. It was amazing.
She was on a... If you just look up Annie Rose Buckley, you get, like, her photos and everything. But she is credited only for movies Saving Mr. Banks. But she was in Doctor Strange and Away from 2010 as well. She doesn't... Yeah, she was on Home and Away, which was a documentary. Saving Mr. Banks and Doctor. So not Doctor Strange.
There was a doctor in it.
Yeah, she was born 2001. I can't tell. But yeah, so I guess she's 17. That would be math, I would say.
2018?
2001.
So that'd make her 18?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would make her 18. Nope. August 4th, 2001.
Okay.
So there you go. That was a long time just for one.
But she would have been like 12
12 then, yeah. So you got me there.
Ha!
Fair point. And then what happens? They keep going, and then this is kind of the point in the film where I wouldn't consider it filler as much as pointless. I don't know. In the point that we flash back, and then there's when the father is, and this scene has stayed with me just because I tried to incorporate not really that same feel, but like the way that they present their lines is very, very well. So like with the father is talking about shaving, and I was like, oh yep, gotta shave and stay clean, and then he goes, yep, it's swoosh, and swoosh, and then the kid, Annie, I guess, also goes swoosh, swoosh, and I'm like, that's very sentimental, that's cute, and then you switch back, and it's, I don't know, that scene didn't seem important. I still liked it because it made me go like, oh, they're growing a connection, and that made it worse at the end.
Yeah, well, I think that's all it's supposed to
Not
do.
worse as in like the film got bad, but more in the sense, because quite the contrary, but more in the sense that at the very end it was like, oh, that sucks.
I know, you're crying something awful.
Oh, yeah. You bet.
But,
yeah, because I cry at films.
Yeah. So
I do not.
I'm sure that's all that was. That was just a show of bonding again, because most of them, they connected better with the present day, like especially when he was the father was giving that speech to the townspeople, and he was all drunk already.
Yep, with the bank song, which I want to talk about.
Yeah. So they're at one point they had, because they kept switching back and forth between him talking and then the Sherman Brothers singing the bank song. And
well, as long as we're there, I mean, that's
then,
kind of where the next scene goes, in a sense. Like, that's the next major plot point.
Yeah, and then he was singing in his part.
Yeah, I didn't quite get that scene.
I thought that was a little bold.
I thought they should have, like... I don't know how else you would have done that scene, because I thought the scene was very well done. Do I think it was believable? No. Because they wouldn't know the exact wording of what her father said at it.
It's just to show a connection.
It's to show a connection, I get that, but it's
this
very...
isn't historical, that's for sure.
No. But it was very well done, especially for her to lash back and go like she said, like, oh, why did you make them so awful? Why did you make him destroy the kite? And then, like, one of the greatest lines in the film was when she's walking away, and it was like, I have to make it up to him, in a sense, or like not again.
I can't disappoint him again.
Can't disappoint him again. I'm like, holy cow.
Which
okay.
I agreed with her. I mean, why did they make, and even they after that said, you're right, we made him mean. Yeah. He's not heartless. So why? I would love to read that original script, because it sounds like they made him a total jerk.
If they release that online, that would be great. Do I think Disney will? Of course not.
No, because she threw him out the window. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, someone had to clean it up.
Yeah.
Get a time machine, go back and catch it. But yeah. But either way, that was a very, not a hard scene to watch, but more in the sense of, okay, this is kind of the turning point in the film where things are about to get more serious. So it wasn't really even that scene that got me. That was introducing it. They hit home when, I think, flashing back again, the father, Mr. Travis, is sitting with P.L. Travers when she's 7 and is going like, okay, like, oh, what are you doing? I'm laying eggs. Oh, okay, well, you just keep laying. And then the mother walks out. Can you set the table? No, right now, honey, she's laying eggs. Honey, set the table. And he lashes out and says, she's laying eggs. And then I was expecting music or something, even a bird chirping. Nothing. And I think that was the best.
Yeah, she just
the best option.
Sorry or something and backs up. And
she doesn't. She doesn't say sorry, which I loved.
She did.
No, I don't think she did. She just, the baby started crying. No, you know what she did? She did say sorry.
And the baby started crying too.
Yeah, but like a sarcastic sorry. Of like, sorry. And then walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I loved. I loved that she wasn't like, not really like she wasn't putting up with it at all, which I loved. And the baby crying on key, I really want to hope that wasn't just an audio cue that they kind of threw in. I kind of want to believe that they mic'd up a kid. It was like 2 months. But
I feel bad that any kid would just start crying anyway because of a movie. But yeah, it was a good.
But more in the sense scene. That, yeah, especially for like, because even the P.L. Travers gets up and goes like, I can set the table. And he goes, no. And then it's a very quick scene, but it's a very well done scene. So, again, they kind of keep... It's this weird, uneasy feeling for the rest of the film where you really don't know what's going to happen next. And this is when we get to Disney and... it's either Richard or Robert Sherman, but I don't remember who. So I will do research on that. But Walt walks in to one of the Sherman Brothers singing, what's it called? Feed the Birds.
Yeah.
Which
at night.
At night, which is like true to history. That's his favorite. That was his favorite song. He had the Sherman Brothers sing it to him at night sometimes. He absolutely loved the song. So to see this in the film is very well done, I thought. And this is the one good thing I'm going to say about Tom Hanks being Disney. I know, I'm sorry. But the line, that'll work, when he did that, it didn't really get... I remember when we watched it in theaters, that it kind of got like a little chuckle from everyone. But in the back of my head, all I could think of was, yeah, that is what he would say.
Yeah.
In a sense. You know what? No, I take that back about Tom Hanks. That was not Tom Hanks' work. That was a script writer.
The writer did
Kelly
that.
Markle and Sue Smith. They're good. Tom Hanks should not be Disney.
He just delivered the lines.
He delivered the line. They wrote the line. And I think that was a really good key. So good on them. Excuse me. But, yes. So I thought that was a very well done line. Yes, it was Richard. Because Robert Sherman was asleep on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
I remember. It was
That's
Richard.
right.
I thought it was Richard, but I didn't want to say that just in case. So Richard is singing that. And then they're discussing about, I don't know, how are we going to get P.L. Travers to, Miss Travers to sign the rights over to us? Because he doesn't have the rights yet. He just has permission to make a film, but he doesn't have the rights to the Mary Poppins yet.
Which no one knew.
No one knew.
2/3 of the way through, or halfway through.
Give or take, about half, I would
That
say.
was one thing that was funny. Jumping way back to the beginning of the movie.
That's all we do on this podcast. We just jump everywhere.
When she got in the car with Ralph, and he called her, I think he called her Mrs. P.L. Travers, and then he called her Mrs. Travers, and something happened there, and she says, "It's just Mrs."
Yeah.
And from the rest of the movie, he just called her Mrs.
Mm-hmm. Until later in the film.
Till the very end when he called her Pamela.
Uh-huh. I thought that was very well. Another thing that I wanted to mention was, I believe it was shortly after or shortly before this scene. Yeah, I think it was before this scene. Was, it's a very sentimental moment. Everyone's all happy. It's very calming. And then we cut to the Sherman Brothers. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Mm-hmm. She loses it. And everyone... I remember in the theater when we watched it the first time, everyone in the theater kind of suspected that she would snap at this song. Everyone lost. Yeah. I remember that everyone just was like, she's gonna lose it. And she did. She absolutely hated the wording. She didn't even pronounce it right. She was like, no. Like, this can't go in.
Not even a word.
So I thought that was very clever
she's
to
a writer,
include that.
So that's kind of makes sense, but...
Yeah, it makes sense. Would you, if you were to write... Needs to say, you write not necessarily... You write fiction books. Yeah. But you don't necessarily write, like, kid-level Mary Poppins books.
No, but...
So would you... I don't know what I'm trying to ask, but, like, would you be comfortable adding those weird type of words into your books? Almost like Dr. Seussing it?
If it was presented to me in the proper way, and it was someone with the iconic stature of a Walt Disney, then I would definitely take all of his work to that point into account.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it would be hard to relinquish control of it. And I don't know if I would, like with Jared's Island, I don't know if I'd want cartoons in it, because it's not how I envision it.
No.
So I get that.
Yeah, I can envision, because I've read them, needs to say, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. No.
Number one fan. Oh. But, yeah. So thank you again for coming on twice. But we have...
Thank you for plugging my books 3 times.
Oh, no problem. But one of the parts was, when I think about your books, I mainly envision them as live action. I don't really see any place you could put cartoons. I mean... For people who have read the books, this is going to make sense. For people who haven't, you're kind of here anyway. You have a squirrel in Dr. Rather's game, or the Jared Lagman files, with Pickles.
Yeah.
I could envision him kind of being like CGI, but among like cartoony? Not really.
He would be a
puppet.
Scary cartoon. I mean,
he would. You remember? What was
that movie with the dinosaurs in the Ice Age? It
was in the Ice Age. I can't remember.
The movie about the Ice Age. Yeah,
Ice Age.
I think it was part 2 when they had that. No, the excuse me, that I don't know. It was some kind of weird rodent, but it had like a peg leg.
Are you talking about the one that's like an adventure and he's like, we've gotta go, like he's like ready to go? Were there dinosaurs?
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Anyway,
that was the third one, I think.
Okay, it was bad, but anyway. So yeah, I mean, Pickles, my squirrel has got one eye and he's losing his hair and
he's essentially dead.
He's
dying.
Basically a zombie squirrel that the evil Dr. Rather, who's the evil villain, it's his pet. So yeah, he'd be a scary cartoon to say the
least. He kind of looked like a ripoff Pokemon or something. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, back on topic. So they keep going, and then we finally get to the probably most jarring scene for Disney, I would say, is the when the mother comes out. No, sorry. We get to one of the best scenes. We get to one of the happiest scenes. No, it's one of the happiest scenes where they go and they go to Disneyland. Because Walt Disney goes, now, how can you be in this company and not go to Disneyland? So they go. Here's the thing that didn't make sense to me. Ralph works for Disney. How has he never seen Disney before? Because he drove up and he's like, oh boy.
They never specified who he works for. If he's just a limo company and he was hired to drive her around, that's one thing. He doesn't necessarily work for Disney.
I thought that too. Counterclaim. He has a Mickey pin. He held up a Walt Disney World sign for Mrs. Travers. And he was in the studio working with them all.
When?
Oh, wait, no, that's someone else.
And how did he hold up a Walt Disney World sign when Disney didn't exist yet?
Walt Disney Animation?
You said Walt Disney World.
Oh, well, whatever. You confuse my friends.
What were we talking about again?
Him working for Disney or not. Yeah, I guess you're kind of more right in the sense that he probably didn't work for Disney, but just was a limited service.
But in that same scene, I was confused. I thought this is where you were going with it. The previous scene, Walt calls her and says, "Hey, you want to go to Disneyland?" And she says no. And he says, "Oh, who would turn down a trip to go to Disneyland with Walt Disney?" And they have a few more words, and he hangs up on her.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you're getting there.
Next scene, she's in a car and driven into the gates, and she doesn't seem surprised, and she just goes with it.
I think it's kind of like Hollywood just going like, well, I got nothing better to do. I'm here, type of thing.
Yeah, but she wouldn't do that.
She wouldn't, but...
She wouldn't even get out of the car.
Either way, I did like how all of the people were dressed, how they should have been. Like a very...
In the park?
In like, yeah, the background characters.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow. I didn't like when this group of people ran up to Disney. What would you do if you saw Disney, by the way? You'd probably walk up. I mean, we've kind of had conversation about like celebrities and meeting them. We'd probably go up and go like, oh, hello, Mr. Disney. Or Walt. Like something like that. Very casual. I didn't like how they had this fangirl show up and just go, I love you, Mr. Disney. Because it's like, that is very, like, look at us, we're Disney type of attitude.
Yeah, you're not there expecting to see him anyway. And why would you have your autograph book out? I don't know if they really sold autograph books for characters back then as well as they do now, but...
They probably did a little. I don't think to the extent they do now where it's like, you gotta get all of them.
Yeah, it was just funny. Like, there was like how many 7 or 8 kids, and they all had autograph books out.
Mm-hmm. I did like too, because he did this in real life. He just pulled out a picture. Here you go.
Yeah, the sign.
Some of the background characters, I don't know if you caught it, but I just liked. There was one that was like, Mr. Disney, and probably my favorite. Hey, Walt.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, because and he's just waving, very casual, which I just like the Hey Walt one. The characters in the background too. They were the way they looked back then. They had the giant heads and like tiny itty bitty body.
Yeah, and they haven't changed Disneyland a whole lot.
So it works perfectly.
Anybody who's really going to be meticulous can probably point some stuff out that's different. But
they probably just added some more flowers here and there. And then we have Walt look up at the Elias Disney photo, or not photo, lettering on the window. Yeah. I thought that was nice. Mm-hmm. And then they go on a little carousel.
I think you should have looked up at the fire station too. That would have been
That would have been a neat little nod type of thing of just like, or maybe even have him make like a little comment up there of him just walking, going like, "Me and my daughters read your book up there." It might not be true, but who cares?
Yeah,
most of this film is kind of all over the place. You could even say,
my wife's up
most of it is
top
true.
Of the train house. You want to go meet her, and she could say no.
Just something like that.
Something like that, just to kind of talk more about the history of the park.
Yeah, you know what how that would have been perfect? Have them walking. The light is on. No, because he only put the light on when he was there. I was thinking if the light was on, it'd be neat if she was walking and went, "You left your light on," and then kept going.
That would have been good. Yeah.
But I realized it's only when Walt is there. Which do you want to talk about that real quick when we went there?
Oh,
I thought I'm like, on this podcast. This podcast is essentially just so that people could see not Walter and Ross, but more in the sense of like the people of the characters, of like the actual people. So I like to incorporate these like real stories, and like we laugh. There's a lot of awkward pauses, but that's just who we are, type of thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is probably a good story if we're going to talk about it. When we went to Disneyland, we did the tour that was there. Yeah. And one of the things you do is you go up into... By the way, if you hear rain in the background...
It's raining.
It's raining, by the way.
It happens.
Yeah, we're sponsored by Rain. Most people are sponsored more by like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Disney. Disney, if you want to hit us up, that's fine. But no, we're sponsored so far by Rain. So here it is. Yeah. But either way, at the end of the tour, you go up and you see that the lights on.
Up. Yes. So last year,
here, if you want to take it away.
Last year in June, we went up to out to California, and one thing we really wanted to do was this tour called Walking in Walt's Footsteps.
Fantastic tour. Take it if you can.
Yeah, excellent tour.
The people were very nice. If I could remember their names. But I can't. I'm sorry. But either way, everyone there is nice anyway. So whoever you get is amazing.
So it's about a 3-hour tour, and you get to see Lincoln, which is my favorites and not my family's.
Hey, I like Lincoln now that I actually understand more.
Oh, good.
Which I like. So
So at the very end of the tour, they take you to...
Backing up, the only reason we didn't like that ride was because we rode it the day before. Not really rode it. We watched it the day before, and then they told us we're doing it again, and then the next day you wanted to do it.
Yeah, well, it's Lincoln.
It's Lincoln.
Can't dislike Lincoln.
No.
So at the end of the tour, the climax of it is to go up to Walt's apartment. For those of you who don't know, in the entrance to Disneyland on the left-hand side, there's a firehouse. On the second floor of it still is Walt's apartment, and he was there. He had it built so that he could oversee the park being built, so he was right there whenever he wanted to be. So we go up there, and they take us in 2 groups because it's a small apartment. I want to say probably the size of maybe a dining room. Yeah, that's including the room where they sleep and the bathroom. Like everything. I would say with everything, and there's a little kitchenette in that room. It's the only thing separate is the bathroom.
And all of the different, like the toaster, the utensils they use, everything's there, untouched, and it's
Yeah, and a lot of
beautiful.
A lot of it is replicas, but you get a sense.
And of course, being the Disney fan that I am, you better believe that I was speechless of just looking around the entire place. And in case you all are wondering how much of a Disney fan I am, if you look closely at Walter and Ross, you will notice that one of them are named Walter. An abbreviation of that is Walt. So
is that why?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the real reason why I called him Walter and Ross. It was because his original name, fun fact, little tidbit. Little tidbit. His original name was supposed to be Walt. But I'm like, no, that can't work.
Too close. Yeah.
Too close. So I made it Walter. And then Ross was just a name that I liked. And then Sorrel was based off of a short story that I made. I can't really use it anywhere. It was just a story I was writing, and I came up with the name Sorrel. And that's how I'm like, oh, detective name. Bam. Because I couldn't pick between Sorrel or Ross. So I just went, both. Yeah, Sorrel is going to be the detective name. So, little fun fact, little tidbit.
So
sorry, continue.
That's okay. So we're up in the apartment, and they spend about 15 minutes. They tell you about various things about it, which is interesting. And then they said, okay, now and we know you guys want pictures, but we don't allow them. We only allow one picture that we take of you.
Now they can take they take it on your phone, so it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to take it on just one phone. I think, right? Because you can give them like 2 or 3, and that's fine. They'll do that, and everyone's going up and they're smiling and taking their photo, and I'm kind of still in awe, looking around, like getting very sentimental, going like Disney was right here, type of thing. Like I am standing where Disney is, and then it was our turn.
So. The three of us get up to. There's a certain place you stand.
It's right next to the phonograph.
Yeah, there's a phonograph right there, and then to the left is a window, the front window that looks out over the park. And everyone else had gone upstairs to the same exact place and done this. And there's like maybe 4 other groups that did it before us, and we were the last ones. So we get up there, and the girl, tells us to smile and everything. And just before she snaps the first photo. There's a little ding from a clock that's right next to her. It's just sitting on a table, and it dings one time.
And then my first thought was, oh, maybe that's just like an alarm of like, oh, we got to get going type of thing. And then she looks and goes, that doesn't happen.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't on the hour. It was randomly like 11:12 or something in the morning.
It was something ridiculous, and then it just went off. And for her to go, that doesn't happen, was very. I don't know. It's very interesting.
It made me think, hey, Walt's saying hello.
Which really like made the staple.
I'm thinking maybe he knows something about you that you don't know.
Mm-hmm. In the future. Yeah. He's like, use my name. Yeah. And it's like, your name, but make it a little longer so it's not as evident. But either way, that was because I remember the rest of the trip, we were with Disney in a sense. Mm-hmm. So that was really neat. Going back to the film.
Yeah, all right.
We're getting near the end, and Ms. Travis is sitting there, and this is their last attempt. They're like, this is our make it or break it moment. We have to show her that this film is promising. And one of the people even goes, oh God, I hope you like it. Which, and then they get on their knees to portray the children. And they start singing, let's go fly a kite, which is not what happened. In real life, what really got her was Feed the Birds. That was the song that stapled her into going, this is it. This is a good film. That didn't happen because she hated the film in real life, but more in the sense that this was a promising moment to her. So that was very nice. And they're dancing and they're going all over the place. And then one of the people runs up to Walt Disney and goes, she's dancing. In a sense. And they're all dancing, they're having good old fun time. And they're all going around. And then she's finally set. 2 minutes pass. And then she goes, now how are they going to train the penguins to dance? And they go, they're going to be animated. And this is Robert, of course. And she goes, what? Yeah, they're going to be animated. And she goes back to England. Here's why that doesn't quite make sense to me. She was willing to deal with this and that, but as soon as they got to the animated part, gone. Type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't have gone over the entire film quicker with her. Mm-hmm. Or unless they were just not telling her it was animated. I guess that's what it was, right? Probably
of like, oh, you weren't going to tell me this type of thing.
And at some point she wanted nothing in red.
Yeah, which I was like, I want to rewatch that film now.
Oh, we already did. There's red in it.
There's red. Okay, yeah.
Plenty of red.
Okay. So much red.
So much red.
But, yes, so she goes back to England, and then she opens the door after falling asleep for like maybe an hour or two, because it's now night, and she goes, oh, dear God. And Disney is right there. Walt. And he walks... door. Yeah, Walt Disney. And he reveals that he knows that her real name is Helen Goff. So that was very interesting for the film, because I never knew that.
No, they made very small gestures towards the name during the film.
Throughout the film, even in the background.
Yeah, what's what I mean? They're like tiny. You really got to be paying attention. Like when the father was in his office and he was yelling about something. I never really fully got that, but the sign on the door said Travers Golf.
Yeah.
Being his name. But they never actually called him by name, and they never really connected the fact until the end, even when Disney said it, that her last name was his first name.
Yeah.
So you really had to pay attention to this movie to understand it, because if you looked away, forget it. You're going to miss a lot of it. Even this time watching it, it's the third time I've seen it.
Fourth for me.
Maybe it's the fourth. I get something new every time.
Yeah, like the other day not the other day, this was like months ago, when we watched it, the father during the bank scene, flashing back a little, was he coughs into a tissue. Mm-hmm. And I told you, this was fantastic. I loved that it was quick and it wasn't long. He coughs into a tissue, and then the camera looks at it, he pulls it away, there's blood on it, and then the camera switches back. It's like 2 seconds. But if you're looking away or you blink, you're not going to see that. And that's a really important key to it.
Yeah, they're making the audience pay attention. Which by that point in the movie, you figured out you need to anyway.
Yeah, this isn't like you can relax movie. You can leave it on in the background, but you might as well put on the soundtrack if you're going to do that.
Yeah, they don't spoon feed you at all.
Yeah, throw on Spotify and listen to the soundtrack, because Thomas Newman, you genius. Or listen to Finding Nemo, and you'll get that would be a good challenge, is go like, okay, these are made by the same people, go and have like a Finding Nemo music and then a Saving Mr. Banks, and see if you can figure out the difference.
Yeah, that'd be a blast.
I don't know. I don't know. It was better than like something, I don't know.
Hey kids, we're gonna play a game.
Well, like music department, I don't know. And then Disney talks all about his past, about the snow in Missouri. Essentially, it can all be summed up to, it snowed.
Overacting.
Yeah.
He really overacted.
He really did that. But all that got into my head, only because it's Tom Hanks. If it was the real Walt Disney, I would have been all over this story. But because it was Tom Hanks, all it sounded like to me was, back in my day, we had to go to school in the snow. Uphill, both ways, like
and deliver papers,
evening and morning.
And then my father beat me up every day
with this belt, which was like.
But I don't mean to make you feel bad, because I love my father. Why?
Ours did, yeah. Well, we don't know the full story of that. I mean, we do, but in this story, in a sense, because I wouldn't call it a documentary.
It's not.
It's not.
Not at all. It's.
Some people do.
It's, I'm sure, probably more than half fiction.
Probably more, yeah, because big elements are missing in the sense that it's just different.
Yeah.
I don't know why they decided to make this movie. Not in a bad way. I love the movie, but more in the sense that, why? Because, like, Mary Poppins Returns came out in 2018. That's 5 years after this one.
Well, I don't...
So why the timing?
I don't know. I guess they had nothing else to do. Sounded like it seemed like that because it was such a story. Because I'd heard that about how long it took Disney to get her to agree.
20 years.
For a long, long time. And so I'm sure that story was in the works for quite a while. They just couldn't figure out how to do it, how to portray it.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It started back in 2002. Yeah, I have it here. In 2002, Australian producer Ian Colley produced a documentary film on P.L. Travers titled The Shadow of Mary Poppins. And then they keep going, and then Disney was like, oh, okay, Robert B. Sherman provided Owen with an advance copy of the Salem chapter from the upcoming book release, Moose, Chapters from My Life. So 2010, 2011. And then it seems like 2011 was the year where they went full on with this film. 2012 they started filming.
Yeah, as far as like why at that point they did it, who knows? It must have just been on their list of movies to do.
I was right. They were originally going to record in Queensland, Australia, to do some of the scenes, but first moments of the film, I went, why are there palm trees?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just used the Burbank, California Disneyland Park.
Yeah, that's kind of what we
or like
thought.
California.
Those are those extra tall palm trees that you only seem to see in California.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't quite know about that. But, yeah. So, we're getting near the end of the film. And, she comes back, I guess, unannounced in Walt's office. And is like, I'm here for the premiere. He did not want her there. Just as in history. Because he also didn't want her there. Because she was arguing with the director and producer of Mary Poppins as well. She's also made comments, this is real life, by the way. She's also made comments that Julie Andrews, who played Mary Poppins in the film, was too pretty to play her.
Well, that makes sense when you compare it to the person that was the real Mary Poppins when she was a kid.
Yeah. That
person was very drab.
Yeah, she was very dark.
Yeah.
In the sense her clothing was
just
almost
dark. Black and white.
Yeah. And, we completely skipped the scene where the father died.
Oh, yeah. With the pears, yeah.
Yeah, with the pears. So she drops the pears, and this is why I think that kid actor is fantastic. I'm using that word too much. Phenomenal. Was because she drops the pears, and the nanny, who's supposed to be the inspiration of Mary Poppins, I guess, is holding the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Disturbing much.
Yeah, they were bloody.
They were bloody, like for all to see type of thing of like, look at this. And the mother's on the ground finally, I guess you could call awake, because this is the first time she's not wearing a hat. Her hair isn't made up. It's like she's on the ground.
Yeah, she was just there when she came in, right?
Yep. And once again, one of her 10 lines was, he's gone. And then she holds her back and was like, no. And then the nanny goes, no, let her say. And she walks in, and the one line that she says of, so the way the scene went was she drops the pears, stands at the door, walks in, puts her hand on her father and goes, I dropped the pears. I'm sorry. Very nice. Then the nanny walks in and then goes like, think we should go. And what does she say? Like, oh, like you promised you would fix everything. And then she walks away, and then we cut to the next scene. No, that's not how the scene should go. Here's how I would do the scene. Cut out the nanny. Get rid of her completely. Not her character, but in that scene. Yeah. Here's how it would go. She walks in. The mother is holding the sheets, or like she's coming out, but kind of concealing it so you can't see the blood. But you can see a little bit of blood. And the camera would focus on that. Then the mother drops on the ground finally after seeing her daughter. The two hug. And then when they pull back, she goes, he's gone. Same line. And then when she's about to run off, she goes, she's like, no. Do whatever type of thing. And then she stands at the door. Same thing plays out. Puts her hand on the father. She had dropped the pears, so all of that. And then it's I dropped the pears. I'm sorry. Done. Fade to the next scene. Isn't that better than with the nanny?
The only thing I disagree with is her mother was cold as anything. She wouldn't hug her. She didn't touch anybody except the baby whole movie.
That's true. Where are the other kids in that scene?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're outside with a horse.
They're going, with the mighty steed. But you could even, if you want to show that anger that she has towards her father, if you want to really hit those heartstrings and to show that she's angry, is go, you promise you would never leave me.
Yeah.
There you go. Because he promised that throughout the entire film. Say that. Just have her go, you promise you would never leave me.
But she was still... But the point is, she's always tried to make him happy and get his acceptance. For whatever reason, she never thinks she did. So I think that's why she apologized about the pears.
Yeah.
Because she was never really angry at him.
She wasn't, no. She was more disappointed.
Not angry, I'm just disappointed.
How the tables have turned. The child is disappointed, not angry.
The one thing about that disturbed me, that I'm surprised he did this way, was when you see him, the father, dead, his eyes are open.
Yeah.
Which is more realistic, but I figured they would have closed them.
Yeah. I figured the nanny would have done the Hollywood of take the two fingers, put the eyes down.
Well, just
do what you do with a Furby when you want to kick it, is just close the eyes and gone.
She's coming out with bloody sheets. She could have at least closed his eyes.
I don't like it when he's looking at me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
we're gonna wash these sheets and reuse them now.
Yeah. Oh God. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, what would she do? But yes, so the day has come finally of the premiere. It's 1964 now. Mary Poppins is there. And then Ralph comes back. Ralph is back!
Hey,
and then, hey Ralph. And he comes back and he drives her there. And then he goes, none of this would have been possible without you. This is your night. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's very cheesy. Fits, though, with the rest of the film. Kind of.
No, I like that line,
I like that line. It was very nice. And then to see her, walking and looking back at Ralph for comfort, I'm like, that's sweet, type of thing. I don't know how true that is, but it's very nice.
I'm sure it's not true at all, but...
She probably, it's not true. She ran there.
It would be a very scary thing, though, to have not been invited to a premiere, and then, even though Ralph drove her there to walk in, alone.
Yeah. Well, they even, hold hands for a minute.
Yeah, she's walking away. Yeah, and then conveniently meets Mickey Mouse on the red carpet.
Oh, boy!
No one else is bothering him. He's just hanging out with his ears.
Hanging out. Giant. Yeah, nearly whams her in the head. It was you gotta duck a little. Could you imagine being an adult back in the 60s and you're like, hey, Mickey, can we get a picture? Oh, of course there, pal. Huh? And you go to take a picture and your head is just, his ear is bigger than your head.
He turns, he whaps you in the back of the
head. Don't get hit by the ears on the way out, pal. Wham! But yeah, so they keep going. And then she sits down, starts playing. This is a very odd ending, I thought. Was to end it with Mr. Banks in the actual film walks away. And of course, it's a sad scene. It's supposed to be. But what I did like was shortly after that, or it might have been... No, yeah, it was after that. Was Dick Van Dyke character, Bert. He starts doing his little speech about oh, well, your father's a great man. I mean, look at him here. And they showed the different photos of, or not photos, but the setting of back in the 1900s, the flashbacks that we've been seeing. And to hear that over it, it's very melancholy, powerful. Yeah, even. Because it's... Now, probably people will rewatch that scene and can mainly think of this film. I'd imagine this film probably changed the light of that Mary Poppins in a huge way.
Mm-hmm. I think, didn't we watch Mary Poppins after we saw this the first time?
Yep, we watched it directly after, I think.
Yeah.
With Mom. Because we went to go see it at the theaters.
Oh, that's right, she didn't come.
Yeah, we saw it at the theater because we went, the Red Robin lady's in it!
Yeah, that's all we went
That's all we went for, and then she's in it like maybe 10 minutes at most.
Yeah.
5 minutes even. And then we came home, and then we're like, as soon as it comes out on DVD, we gotta show you. So we bought the DVD, and then we put it in, and we showed Mom, and then she kind of had the same reaction as we did of like, that was powerful.
Yeah.
That was different. And then we watched Mary Poppins directly after. And, yeah. Have you read the book?
Mary Poppins?
Yeah. Okay, I have read the book. And it's very different in the sense that, yeah, it is one of those, when you first read it, you think she comes for the kids. And then watching this movie again, like just this time, I remember reading the book and I'm like, she's actually there a lot for the parents. Or the father, Mr. Banks. So it's very interesting that goes. And then she's crying during that scene, so Walt Disney comes up. He's going to be okay. Everyone will be cheering. He's going to be okay. And she goes, I just hate animation. That's fine. I'm not crying, you are. Type of attitude. And then Let's Go Fly a Kite comes on, and then they slowly fade it to Let's Go Fly a Kite to just the piano. And then they fade it back into the beginning of the film. You're right, as you said earlier, with the father and the daughter, they hug at another bird eye angle. And then it reverses back to the palm trees, back to the clouds. But this time, the father is saying the lines. He said at the beginning, but this time we know that voice. Yeah. And we're like, makes more sense now. So I thought that was a very neat, just a nice little moment where it's not really, you don't feel happy at the end, but you feel relieved. I don't know. Complete. The movie felt complete at the end.
Right. It's hard to come up with an ending for something like that versus just starting over again.
Because how it would have ended was P.L. Travers would have been all over there, in the sense that she hated the film. She downright refused it. Let me see if I can find that quote again. That was a good quote. But yeah, she hated the Disney company before. She hated everything that there was to do with Disney and all of that. Oh my goodness, that quote was really good.
But it made her a multimillionaire, so she couldn't have hated it too much.
Oh, she didn't. No, in 1977, she talked about it more. Blah, blah, blah. Looking this up. I mean, trying to remember it in
Stuff
my
off
head.
the top of your head.
Yeah. And off the top of my head on historyversushollywood.com, in a letter to her lawyer, Travers described her horror for what she had seen at the premiere. Quote, as chalk is to cheese, so is the film to the book. Tears ran down my cheeks because it was all so distorted. I was so shocked I felt that I would never write, let alone smile again. Unquote. Now here's the thing. In 1977, when asked about the film, she said, quote, I've seen it once or twice, and I've learned to live with it. It's glamorous and it's a good film on its own level, but I don't think it's very like my books, unquote. That
sounds like she's right, though. I mean,
it does, because I've read the books. Or book, not the second one, but the book. She's right. I think, and if we're going to relate that quote to this, Saving Mr. Banks is its own story. It has factuals and it has real things, but I feel like as though this is just like another way it could have happened.
The Disney way.
The Disney way type of thing. Of like, it didn't seem... Some things could have been changed, of course, but everything in every film can be changed. Treasure Planet could be changed, so it could be cheaper type of thing.
There's no movie in existence that is purely factual.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't even seen it, but Avengers Infinity War can be changed to a level. The Titanic, Avatar, Gone with the Wind, all of that can be changed in a different way. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I love the film. I remember talking to my friends about it, and we saw it. It could be changed. There's just little things in every film that can be changed. Mm-hmm. But that's what makes these films great, and that's what this movie mainly talked about, was the transition of change from like everything's hunky-dory in Australia to the wife trying to kill herself and the husband dying due to alcohol.
But you can also look at P.L. Travers. From the time that movie started, she was real mean, and then when it ended, she was only semi-mean. So she grew, and that was change. So
but
it was positive.
Overall, that about does it for Saving Mr. Banks. So out of 10, by the way, since you came, since last time, we've changed from a 5-star to a 10-star, mainly because it's easier to rate, because you get some more wiggle room in there. So you gotta keep up with the changes. But I'll try. Well, Saving Mr. Banks with changes. Hey, all right. So out of 10 teacups,
10 Mickey heads.
10 Mickey heads. How many Mickey heads would you give Saving Mr. Banks?
I would give it 10, but because of Tom Hanks, I'll give it 9.5.
I thought you were going to say because of Tom Hanks, I'll give it a 4 or something.
No, he didn't ruin the movie. He just wasn't the best one to play that part. That's all.
Well, with Tom Hanks, too, he's also... Wow, these chairs, once again.
Mine was good.
Yeah, yours is fine, but that's like a flimsy thing.
I didn't like when every time I saw him, I saw Tom Hanks. I didn't see Walt Disney, and then I had to remember. Oh yeah, he's playing Walt Disney. That's right.
Well, especially with like recently, he did. Oh, who is the? What was that movie he just did recently? Sully. He played him.
Oh yeah.
And I remember
he's gonna be Mr.
Like,
Rogers too.
No,
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, it's like. Yeah, he did Sully. But, yeah, it's like some movies are just not the best for him.
There are other actors out there who could play these parts.
You know what I thought he did a really good film on? Was The Polar Express.
Yeah, that was very good.
He did phenomenal in that one.
A lot of voices on that.
He used to say, like, Toy Story 1, 2, 3, 4. Potentially 4. We're waiting for 5. He did fine on those. I'm not saying he did a terrible job as playing it.
I'm not saying he's a bad actor at all. I mean, I like him. I think as a human being, he seems good, like a good person. But he's not. He just wasn't the best choice for that role. That's all.
No. What was that college film? That The Adventures of Walt's Frozen Head. I'm gonna see if I can pull up.
That was a good Walt Disney in that one.
Okay, so The Adventures of Walt's... Yeah, The Adventures of Walt's Frozen Head. It's a college film that was made completely without Disney's knowledge. Because, of course, it's Walt's Frozen Head. Why would Disney approve of this? Yeah, a feature comedy about holding on to your dreams no matter what. And it's essentially about this guy who finds Walt's frozen head, and he wants to take him to Walt Disney World so that he can see all of the different colors because he's been trapped underground. I've heard about Walt being frozen under Disney, but never his head specifically.
There's different rumors, but yeah, he's.
But yeah, it's like once
apparently he was cryogenically frozen so that when they found a cure for him, they can wake him up. But I think he's dead.
No, he's there with Elvis and everyone. I mean, he's underground. But either way, yeah, he did a really good job. Because I think this was probably very well done. Because the actors were good. The like CG in this film. The Further Adventures of Walt's Frozen Head, which is on YouTube for free. It's about an hour and a half, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's a phenomenal film. It's won multiple awards. It's really outstanding.
Yeah.
But that Walt, if you watch that Walt and then you watch Saving Mr. Banks Walt, I think they chose Saving Mr. Banks Walt of Tom Hanks because he's famous.
Yeah. I'm sure too.
Purely on that fact.
This guy, he had and I think it was this guy's voice. I don't think he was doing anything special, but he was the same voice as Walt Disney had. He had the same general look of an older Walt.
If I could figure out how to interview the guy, just like the director, but also have the Walt on as well, whoever played Walt, like, no problem. I would love to interview those people and just get their, like, how they made the film, picking Walt and all of that. And I'd bring up, like, who do you think played it better? Of Tom Hanks or this guy?
Yeah.
Because I still think this guy. So you would give it, what did you say, 9.5 Mickey heads? So, like, what, 9 Mickeys and
a hand.
And a hand. Yeah, I'm kind of up there with you in the sense that I think overall it's a very well done movie. There was obviously a lot of work put into it. I also forgot to mention it has, like, a budget of... now I'm not going to be able to find it. It has, like, a budget of $37 million, and it got over $100 million at the box office, roughly. So very well done. It actually premiered first in London, and then America, and then the next year in 2014, Australia. Which,
that's weird.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have been Australia, London, America.
I would have thought it would be America, London, Australia.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just very interesting that Australia got it.
I thought they were, like, very close together, too. I didn't think they...
No. No, with movies and books and games and all of this type of stuff, it's all over the board. Mainly movies, though. Huh. It's mainly TV shows, I think, that are spot on with their times. But I would give it 9 Mickey heads. The only reason why is because I wasn't as bothered by Tom Hanks playing Disney, because I've seen it so many times, and I have, like, that, like, it's Disney type of thing. And for him to have the honor to be the only person ever to portray Disney in a Disney film, or Walt Disney, is outstanding. But the only thing I had a problem with was the pacing. It didn't flow naturally for me. Some points did, but I didn't know what time was what. And some of the things seemed rushed, some things seemed a little slowed down, and altogether it seemed weird. Like with the sentimental scene, and then supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, that's a big jump of, like, there you go, next.
Yeah, that's true.
They also made some things I understood they had to cut out. Like, of course, they couldn't have, like, them go through. I would have loved to have, like, a Dick Van Dyke character and Julie Andrews character pop up, and her to just go, like, no, or, like, rat them off, and then have, like, maybe a little cameo of Dick Van Dyke in there, and just go, like, I thought they were pretty good, or something like that.
Yeah, a little more having a little more fun with it.
Yeah, but I understood this is a very serious film. I still love the film. I would recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it yet, because it's not a documentary. It was just Tom Hanks and the pacing for me.
And you said you liked the music?
Oh, I love the music because of Thomas Newman and Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
Nostalgia, which, as soon as it ended, the credits rolled, and I slammed the table and went, Thomas Newman! That's where I know him from! That's why! And that was because he did Finding Nemo. So, that about does it for... We plan for these things to be like 50 minutes or so. 50 minutes, an hour pushing it. Because we want it to be like a car ride or a commute or something. It's been an hour 20.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Sorry
and
about
then
that. I'm the one who always says make him...
You especially, because you drive... For those who don't know, he works for Disney. And your rides are like 50 minutes. What? What?
Nothing. Yeah, we were saying we wanted to make it... I suggested making them shorter. Sorry about that. I'll talk less later.
Well, I mean, you'll be coming back for episode 10.
All right.
Every 5.
We'll limit it to 30 minutes. That way it'll be an hour.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just do a 30-minute one. But, yeah, so... Yeah, we'll be trying to shorten. Because these actually take a really long time to put onto YouTube as well. And render and all that junk no one really cares about. Yeah. But in the meantime, is there anything else you wanted to state before, like, any more Tom Hanks hatred?
I don't have Tom Hanks' hatred. I just don't think he should have been in that movie at all.
I don't hate him. I just think the selection was terrible.
Yeah, I think whoever the casting crew was needed to rethink that. But I also think, like you've mentioned, if like, because he's been the only one who has ever played Walt, that they wanted somebody who they knew was an upstanding citizen because they didn't want to hear, oh, this guy is in rehab now. But he played Walt Disney. They didn't want to deal with that. They knew he wouldn't have any kind of bad press.
Which is fine.
Maybe that has to do with it. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, we don't really have enough information to fully understand that. I'm trying to find who we can yell at, but I don't think that the casting person put himself on here.
That's why.
He just didn't. He
did a good job with everybody else, so
we'll give him.
Maybe he was forced. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, Tom Hanks is doing this. You have no choice."
Yeah, I don't know, but
I doubt. I'm sure he was called. I doubt that he had to apply for that role.
Oh, probably. I
don't think he needs to do that anymore in his career.
No, he's kind of made a good name for himself from like Big, all the Toy Stories, Polar Express, things like that. And that about does it for this. So Thank you again for joining. This is always the weird part in podcasts because it's like, thank you, and then we talk for like another 30 minutes about the film. And have dinner. Because honestly, we could just talk about these movies for a really long time and go into depth of every single scene, but then I'd be here rendering for a long time. So,
I'm just going to leave.
Thanks for coming. Oh, okay.
Have a nice day.
See
you later.
I
gotta go.
But don't I stay here too?
Yep, I gotta go.
Okay, bye. Alrighty then. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. I'll see if he can come back for episode 10 or whatever episode. And if you guys have any more recommendations of different films, let me know. And if you'll excuse me now, I gotta go find my dad because we gotta cook dinner. And also, Dad, hold on.